台湾风尘泌尿协会万幸女医。
To the symptomatic progression, which was captured by what the physicians said, not by questionnaires.
Yeah, and the next similar question is, if a man has a symptomatic progression and the other have asymptomatic progression. Now, as far as I know, most people will be detected to have progression on radiographic examinations, but not really symptomatic. What do you think? Most people will have radiographic progression first.
Correct.
And then have symptoms.
I don't think there were any reported as having symptoms without being picked up on imaging, because imaging was done very, very often. Every 2 to 3 months they had imaging. It was almost too much. We don't do that much in real life, regardless of PSA, because remember the study was blinded. We didn't know the PSA, and the patient didn't know the PSA, even though most patients went behind our backs and did PSA, to be honest. But we weren't supposed to know.
所以我们通常 progression 来说，大概最早的可能是 PSA， 次之呢就是 radiographic progression， 再来才是 symptom。所以在这个 study 呢，它主要是以 radiographic progression 为它的 endpoint。Okay, let's look at the third question. Okay, it's about overall survival benefit. 我们知道这2个 study 都还没有达到 overall survival benefit， 没有统计上显著的差异。So the overall survival was not significantly improved in either study. However, the Spartan study was interpreted in many occasions as having a potential to show overall survival benefit, provided a longer follow-up. But no one seemed to expect an overall survival benefit with the Prosper study. As we see, the differences in the Prosper study was a little bit smaller than that of Spartan study. What do you think?
So, I'm very torn about it, because we have to try to be unbiased, and we cannot compare directly. All we're seeing is a snapshot, a dynamic snapshot. And I think we need to look at the data in the year and the year after. Remember, it was the same thing when we looked at 302 and Prevail. Prevail reported immediately RPFS and OS, and abiraterone Prevail showed only RPFS, and about 3 years later showed the similar OS. So it could be just a specific population that was looked at. I actually wish that both studies showed the overall survival, because that would be more confirmatory, rather than one showing it and the other not. We need to, I know that we have preferences, we have biases, but at the end of the day, from an efficacy perspective, there is no, for the median, so like docetaxel or abiraterone or hormone A, you cannot say that they're not equivalent. Maybe for subsets, one is better than the other. I think the whole importance is going to be in the safety profile. Now, I guess we're going to talk in a bit about overall survival, regardless of etiology, and prostate cancer specific overall survival versus other etiology. That remains to be determined.
So let me make it clear. So you're actually expecting a survival benefit even in the Prosper study?
Yes.
Later on?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I want to see.
We'll see. We'll see. All right.
If not, people will actually say why one was positive and the other negative.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
It's like we should too get the chart.
Yes. Exactly. Okay.
So my question is, in the Prosper study, the patient first progressed. Did the arm in the placebo arm shift to abiraterone also?
In the Spartan. No, in the Prosper, they didn't have it.
Yeah. So after progression, then in the Spartan actually is early use and delay use of the AR-targeted agent compared to the differently in Prosper study.
So we don't know what they received yet.
Yeah.
We hope that they were treated by the agents that are available, because otherwise we should have seen a bigger difference. It's true. In the overall survival. I think that they were treated But I don't think they did as good a job not because one is better than the other. Because the Spartan people came in the door with a drug that was not registered, not approved. The FDA is like a hawk. And Zoludamide was approved. Who cares? I mean, what's going to go wrong is what they said, and they did it cheaper. Wouldn't you? That's how it goes.
所以张老师问了一个很重要的问题哈，在 Spartan study 如果 fail progression 的到了 MCRPC 的 study 会给他 abiraterone， 可以选择 abiraterone， 但是在 Prosper study 呢，他就没有后续的，所以要给病人什么东西，所以这是一个很大的差别。那所以在 Spartan study 呢，我们可以看到 placebo 的病人有68% 接受了 abiraterone 或 enzyme。但是 Prosper study 我们不知道，我们因为 Prosper 还没有正式的发表，没有发表在 paper 里面，听说会在 Lancet 或 Lancet Oncology， 但是还不知道。Okay, let's look at the fifth.
I think we did it. You actually said, here you have a question. Do you think that extended
Yes.
metastasis? Oh no. Personally?
It's clinical implications.
Yes.
我们到底延长了到转移的时间，但是 overall survival 没有延长，目前为止，这样子有什么临床的意义？值不值得给病人？我们要给病人平均40个月，才能看到这个 study， 因为以 Spartan study 这个 median 的 MFS metastasis free survival 是 40 months。Okay.
So let's ask you. Let's say that metastasis-free survival also includes symptoms and everything. And if you were to vote, who would vote that overall survival is the most important than anything? Just be honest.
OK， 现在就是问大家说，如果你是病人了，那你可以有机会延长到转移的时间，但是 overall survival 没有延长，你愿不愿意接受这个治疗？那么觉得 MFS 很重要，还是重要？虽然 survival 没有延长的，请举手。很多人，非常多人，好，请放下。那有哪一些人觉得 those are for MFS？
Who votes for MFS and symptom-free?
MFS 跟 symptom free 都很重要。
Yeah, everything that has to do with morbidity. Who votes for overall survival?
Who votes for overall survival 最重要，就是 MFS。OK， 我们有反复修，还有这边都有这个。
Overall survival is not it's cold, maybe improved.
It's not yeah. It's I think it really for reasonable thinking about that. If the population-free survivor and metastatic prolonged metastatic time, we should, yeah.
But for now, the audience voted this is the winner. Right? It is interesting. Now, to be pragmatic, you're probably the only room who actually honors what the patient was saying, right? That's what the patient was saying. Because if you go into all those rooms in the United States, there was overall survival. But the patient always say, I don't care, doc, as long as they don't get in trouble.
It's only the how much improved the overall survival.
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But listen, we knew that it would be a failure because the median follow-up is very short. These men live long. We need to see them live long.
What would you vote?
Myself? Everything. I like everything. No. If I was a patient,
Yes.
and die in my sleep,
OK
just to be honest.
one similar question, related question. For those patients who have the first sign of radiographic progression, I believe most of them do not have severe symptoms because most of them have the first sign of pain or others. So I believe those minor pain would not impair quality of life. So the term time to symptomatic progression matter? Do you think that matters?
No, I think that time to composite progression is better because we now know that everything, all of these aspects are contributing eventually to morbidity. And they do associate very well with overall survival, unless you have a drug that is extremely toxic. So for instance, if you see carefully, all the immunotherapy trials have failed tremendously in prostate cancer. You cannot ignore the fact that they are quite toxic for this population. I mean, 700 million was spent on ipilimumab to show 0 right now. So one cannot ignore that this is a very special, more frail population.
OK， 我刚才问了一个问题，就是non-metastatic CRPC 病人如果有痛，通常都不是很严重的痛，因为才刚开始转移而已。那么我问他说，这样子的痛是真的有意义吗？因为这个 time to symptomatic progression 只是到 minor pain 有什么意义？这样子的痛。好 ，OK， 他当然有他的解释哈。我们再看。Oh yeah, sorry. All right. OK， 接下来这个问题哈是 hypothetical. The question is very hypothetical. 假设的话 ，if more new drugs are invented in the years to come, in the next few years, that further prolong lives, men with mCRPC, do you think the overall survival benefit from either drug will do better or worse, albeit insignificant overall survival benefit right now, at the present time, with a very short follow-up?
So, this is a very open question. You know it. I think that's why you're trying to avoid it, because it should take time before it to break down. It all depends on what type of pathway you're targeting. If, let's say, you come up with an agent that is the maximum blockade of androgen signaling with a positive impact, then you might have a winner. Do we have that? I don't think we do, but even if we did, a subset of these men are already going on different paths. Are you going to show us something similar to the TILs that we saw in breast cancer just now? Maybe. Then we might all retire and go to the beach and relax. That's what we want to do. But all miracles left aside, I think that we will not lose this overall survival benefit. It's the same like that 302 effect. Interestingly enough, I think there's a lot of interest to subclassify the disease, and you see the effort being made with the PARP inhibitors. You need to decide which subset of the disease you're going for. One of the main arguments right now in the design trials about abiraterone plus niraparib plus another olaparib or all of this is actually, should you go for DNA damage repair mutations, monoallelic, biallelic, everyone? So there is an interest in focusing in subset of patients. So I don't think that this will make an incremental change in the 5 years to come. Unfortunately.
Yes, actually, the question is, my question is like this. If we have a longer period, survival during the mCRPC stage, does it matter if we have like 3 or 4 months survival prolongation with the use of apalutamide in the sparking setting?
I think it's going to be much more than 3 to 4 months. Yes, and I think that there will be a therapeutic memory. This is what I just showed in the M0 space, that even though, so here's what we did. We gave abiraterone plus LHRH versus LHRH 8 months. We stopped. 2 months later, testosterone was equivalent in all patients, no difference. But the benefit of abiraterone lasted another extra 10 months from LHRH alone. So these drugs may have this impact of the therapeutic memory because they're cytoreducing or quiescing the disease. But I think that the impact of early treatment will be there. That's what we're benefiting.
Okay. So
But that's beliefs, right?
Yes. Okay, the next, it's about PFS2. 这个意思就是说 progression-free survival. 我们本来一般都是看到第一次 progression 来比较 PFS. 但是现在这个 study 呢，还有一个叫 PFS2，就是看到第二次 progression， 因为不管哪一组，他还可以再接受下一期的治疗。好，那现在就在比较这个东西哈。Okay, the question is, the PFS2 was longer in men on apalutamide than on placebo。这我们已经知道了。但是呢，如果我们从一个角度来想 ，one may argue that men on apalutamide actually received 2 active treatments. The first was apalutamide, and the second was abiraterone for the most people. But men on placebo receive only 1 active drugs. So is it fair?
Are you the one that's arguing? I don't think you are. So last year, we saw a trial comparing kimchi, I think presented in ASCO, starting with enzyme going on to ABI, or starting with ABI going on to enzyme. These types of trials justify a wrong practice. All of those who actually treat prostate cancer exclusively have agreed by looking at the data that moving from abiraterone to enzalutamide or from enzalutamide to abiraterone would lead to a extra benefit that is not over 18-20%, if so. So essentially, I want my question to you is, from an efficacy endpoint and from a pathway endpoint, and for practical, I'm not talking biology here, practical for the patient in the clinic, apalutamide, enzalutamide, abiraterone. Do you believe they are equivalent in efficacy? Who believes they're equivalent?
Equivalent to the other.
All 3 of them.
All 3 of them.
From efficacy, not safe.
有没有人相信这3个都一样？效果上 depends on how small differences are expected
For public service.
for publics.
For public service reasons. Let's say, generally speaking, I'm not talking about 10%. If they offered you free any of these drugs, would you say, oh, I needed the other one? I mean, these are good, efficient drugs. If you want to go to the little detail, sure. They're not going to invite me again, right?
Where still are.
So, at the end of the day, I don't think that they received 2 active treatments. I received 1 active treatment for a more long time, early, versus 1 active treatment later. That's what happened, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of the company too.
Yeah, right. OK 其实大家可以看到，今天我故意站在一个 against 这个 data 的角度，在 question 他，那就看看他能够用什么样的方式来说服我。OK the next is about PSMA PET. If the PSMA PET gets popular, like in Taiwan, it's probably about to be popular in 2 years, I think, and becomes a routine workup tool. A significant proportion of men with non-metastatic CRPC would be diagnosed as metastatic disease. So do you think the MFS benefit from apalutamide or enzalutamide will become greater or smaller?
So, the reason that apalutamide was developed in the M0, pragmatically, was because the other stages were taken. There was no other reason. They're going to report in a hormone-naive setting as well as enzalutamide, way I like the light. But just for now, during the GU ASCO meeting, Eric Small said, well, we don't need to do PETs anymore. We should let what? So, I don't know what you think. But during this ASCO on Monday, this Monday that we just had, right before I presented, this gentleman from Germany presented the PSMA data. The PSMA data is strong. I think the FDA will approve it. They actually did a very elegant trial where they did the PSMA PET, 5 PSAs, and then they actually did biopsies on the findings and confirmed that pathology. And the positive predictive value of actual cancer was 85%, which is pretty high. They did a very detailed job, as long as the PSA was over 0.5. If the PSA is less than 0.5, they had a 45%. stents.
Castration-resistant disease or
Hormone naive.
hormone naive.
In castration resistance, I expect with higher PSA to be more. It was all recurrent coming back. So they're going to get the approval, and the moment they get the approval in the US, it will open the floodgates. Already, PSMA PETs are happening everywhere in the world apart from Taiwan. India is doing like crazy PSMA PETs. So your question is, will it change how we treat, essentially, right?
Yeah, because if we have PSMA PET, most people who have positive PSMA PET will not be regarded as non-metastatic. So they are not receiving apalutamide.
They could receive enzalutamide amyloid.
Yeah, right. Because they already are metastatic castration resistant. So for those people who really have a negative PSMA PET, do they well have a survival benefit receiving apalutamide?
We don't know that.
Yeah, we don't
We
know.
don't know that. But my question to you is, you have a positive PSMA PET. Now all of a sudden you shift the definition, right? The definition is completely made up, artificial. So essentially, in the spectrum of the disease, we're going back to 3 active drugs, and it's the same. And that also brings up my question to you. We just heard some data that suggests that trying to do consolidation therapy in oligometastatic or oligorecurrent disease, where you use androgen deprivation, does not lead to any benefit. Do you think that there is a window of opportunity to actually use in your PSMA setting these drugs and do consolidation?
Can you specify consolidation first?
So you have this non-metastatic CRPC at PSA 1 and you do a PET and you find 2 bone mets. And you add apalutamide because it's indicated, you would not see anything if it was a bone scan. And 3 months later, you repeat your PET and it's 0. SUV went to 0. Just chlorotic findings. The study that you would do then, would it be, because that's what I'm trying to do now, randomize these men to receive radiation or not, and see if there's an impact.
If a patients who have a positive image, even though it is oligometastatic, and who receive a systemic treatment and the lesion disappears after treatment, do we irradiate those hotspots?
Yeah,
Covered, yeah. It's oligometastic.
everyone's doing it, but we don't have a disciplined knowledge.
Everyone is doing it.
We're just doing it.
Yeah.
I do it, you do it, but we need a study to prove it. We
Yes.
just do it.
How about the prostate?
The primary prostate,
In medicine, this is Brian Chapin's trial, right? We did it, the one that's gonna start in swab, we just did it as a small study at MD Anderson. I'm not sure this is gonna be a positive study.
这个问题哈，其实是讲是说，如果有一个人有 oligomets，譬如说bone mets，那么我们给他 systemic treatment 以后，他是 CRPC systemic treatment，譬如说新的给 abiraterone，在 MCRPC state 给 abiraterone，那个 lesion 就消失了。但是因为 oligomets， 我们现在通常会倾向要给电疗，电那个 bone。那它已经消失了，你还要不要电它？这个问题是这样子。那么杨工是说会电。
Before you combine
这个麦克风，
radiation.
麦克风。
It is a
But more better for this patient seen by me. Just now you have the CRPC. You put the apitalon or the talutamide either one. I have additional radiation for that point. But if I don't know, it's reasonable to use if already got it, yeah.
Right.
Because you have the bone lesion there, is a possibility in the future. Sure, is the effect of system is fair. You will go to the everywhere for metastasis. My opinion is that With many patients now, I have seen that my patient, you put a lesion there, and for the CRPC, and a period of time will become diffuse for metastasis.
Right.
Metastasis.
So if we're going to do something like this, which a lot of people are doing, whether in the hormone naive, recurrent, or serious, we need to have studies that prove
Yeah, you
benefit,
have to
because
study.
there's a danger of morbidity with all this radiation. So you see how they're doing all these now, Zofigo and PSMA lutetium and adding. I'm getting patients with MDS showing up.
So in that situation, they put on the study. Yeah, if the after they already they put the two arm to study additionally and benefit or not.
In fact, so it's exactly the discussion we're having. We're out of time. Knowledge is good, but we need to make more knowledge, make the most of it.
Okay, let me make a quick question. We also see patients who have a hotspot after traditional ADT, hotspot gone. And when the patient went into MCRPC state and died of this disease, that old lesion never come out again. And it's very common. I believe most of you have seen those. Okay, let's go to the next. It's about skin rash. It's Dr. just mentioned skin rash. We have seen an excess instance of skin rash with apalutamide, but not enzalutamide. But you just mentioned it's not an issue.
No, in my practice, and in any practice that we have in the US, no epidermal lytic, no Stephen Johnson, no event that led to serious adverse event. However, it needs attention so that patients are, in my clinic now that I prescribe it, I have created a little form that says what to have at home, how to use for itchiness, how to use, let's say, Benadryl or Zyrtec. And that usually takes care of it. About maybe 2 patients that I get them corticosteroids and then reduce the dose and taking care of it.
Do you have patients who were put on apalutamide with skin rash, and those patients cannot be given apalutamide again because of the skin rash coming back?
I have one patient, it was the one I mentioned, who was allergic. I should have looked. I put him on apalutamide, and I should have looked that he had 15 allergies, all antibiotics. So he had an extensive skin rash, but the gentleman had a wonderful response by PSA, and I had to stop it and reverse him to enzalutamide. The skin rash went away, and he actually has his PSA come back up. Anyway, he's going to keep him respond.
OK， 玉贤，你是不是有病人用 apalutamide skin rash 有吗？没有，那我记错了。Oh, Tony. Tony has patients who were put on.
It's my patient under the clinical trial. Actually, has a generalized skin rash. It's very severe. I gave him prednisone, but it doesn't work. And I referred it to dermatologists. They tried any kinds of topic and oral steroid, and it never worked. And finally, I have to start. I even tried to decrease the dose under the agreement of the CRA. However, the rash still persists and even worse. So therefore, I have to let him drop out from the study. And it took about 2 months. The skin rash improved but never go away. Now still have a lot of pigmentation on his limbs and also the trunk. It's very severe.
The same with that gentleman, but nothing that would be compromising. It's just that you see it.
Yep.
But it's not like
the PSA is just dropped down very, very nicely. So it's
like you can't take the risk.
The drug is very, very effective, but the side effects is not.
Yeah, but it's very rare. And it would be interesting to see if these men are like the stories with some EGFR inhibitors too.
Yeah, right. But we don't see many skin rashes from enzalutamide.
Or rather,
Yes.
I've seen one.
Well, actually, in Taiwan, with the study Spartan, we have seen about 2 or 3 patients who had to discontinue apalutamide. Yeah. Okay. Next. Okay, it's about 15% the unexplained death, but the unexplained 这个是指我必须 I have a few slides to share with you. Okay, the definition of MFS Eleni just mentioned, but I would like to explain more to you. MFS 在 Spartan study， 它指的是说从 randomization to 第一天 radiographic progression， 当然这个大家知道，但是同时也可以到 death， 然后又有4个月，第一、2天就是4个月，Prosper study 是1个月，就是不管什么原因停了药物以后，我们再追踪4个月，这4个月当中发生的 progression 也算 progression， 死亡也是算在 MFS 里面。MFS 包括 radiographic progression 跟死亡。那现在问题是在 尤其在 Prosper study 里面有过多的死亡，相对于 placebo 死的人比较少 ，Prosper enzalutamide 死的比较多。OK， 我们可以看一下 ，This is the Prosper study, 933, 468 placebo patients. Number of MFS events 219, 228. But as you remember, this is a 2-to-1 allocation. Radiographic events 20%, about 50%. Death 3.4% and 0.9%. 这就是我指的这个死亡的在 enzalutamide 的比较多。那 hazard ratio 当然刚刚讲是一样。So, Lenny, you have comments on this 3.4?
So was anybody in GU ASCO when this was presented?
有没有人在 GU ASCO?
In San Francisco?
我知道 ，Yeah. I believe we have a lot of people there.
Yes. Do you remember Phil Kaplan saying, why? Why doesn't anybody tell me why? And everyone was confused. And he was like, Mom, saying, I don't know. Like nobody knew anything. So this was quite a big number. I mean, there was no wow from the results because we expected them, but nobody expected that. It reminded me of when Tropic was being presented with Taxil, and we heard 5% toxic deaths, and most of us were like, I'm not going to use this drug. But then we found out that they were somewhere in India having diarrheas and sitting by the river, and we got over it. So then we used the drug. It's a good drug. Now with this one, we've been using it. I haven't had toxic deaths with enzalutamide, thank God. I mean, unless our patients have not, a lot of patients have walked in and said, doctor, I can't take it anymore. I'm done. I mean, or some patients get forgetful or say I'm in fog or have some imbalance. We've seen all that in the older population. But that I have not seen. So it is unexplainable yet. Inexplicable, and you have some slide that I haven't seen that is probably on the paper today.
Okay, this is a slide from Astellas. It's considered to be confidential, but now it is not.
Find it.
It's not published yet. 这就是说这个30几个病人怎么死的。好，这边是 enzalutamide， 这边是 placebo， 怎么死的呢？全部3家加起来就是32。那大家可以看到，就是有很多是心脏病，有的是老的，有的不管什么样的各式各样的死因哈。当然 ，so some of you, 4 of them had disease progression, of course, but it's not radiographic progression. It's something other than radiographic. But you see, there are only 4 from non-placebo.
I just counted up the events that are related to ischemia and vascular. It's 18 defined as vascular. It's quite high.
Yeah, but the comments from Astellas is like this. It's because it's because of this. The median follow-up.
It's longer.
It's longer. It's 2.5 times longer. It's because the long follow-up. So it's very common for you to find more deaths.
Why didn't it happen without the loop?
It's the definition. 再回上一页。
No, because the median follow-up for apalutamide is similar, and they have only 8 because of glucose.
Yeah, it's because
The 112 days.
no, it's not after the discontinuation of the drug to 4 months. All deaths or progression during the entire period, including the time of randomization to the 112 days. So actually, the death, 死亡 death, are counted from the entire period. It's not from only the 112 days.
Yeah, I agree with you. But in apalutamide, in the entire period, it was 8. And I know exactly what each one died on. Because there's 3 on the placebo and 8 on the apalutamide. And there were 3 or 4 that were bad. And we're going to see for the ACES trial too, some of them.
Sorry. So the explanation from Astellas is that because this is a long follow-up, the long follow-up period, it's 2.5 longer than men on placebo. So you ought to see more deaths because it's 2.5 times longer.
The following month. But why the following time is so much different between the placebo and
Yes,
standard
it's time to progression.
Do metastasis.
So this is MFS.
Then yes, it's much longer with apalutamide than on placebo.
It's almost 2 years. It's like with 20
Yes.
months versus 20.
2 years more. 这意思就是说哈，刚才我们看到那个112天，其实我们是算那个死亡，是从 randomization 到停药以后再观察4个月。那 placebo 呢也是一样，反正就是停药以后4个月。但是apalutamide 的人他吃了都不会 progression 嘛，所以他 follow 很久，所以到了36个月，36.6个月。所以因为时间比较长，当然看到的死亡比较多，是这个意思啊。这是
But what you just mentioned that apalutamide has lower death, right? Even the treatment group is also under long follow-up time. So
if
we are questioning the
based
drug
on
that they use
similar time of observation. We say overall survival was no different. 这是 based on 相同的 difference， 但是这个是不同，这是 time to progression 就停了，所以只观察14.7个月的死亡，当时只有4个人，但是观察34.32个人。
Now all of a sudden overall survival became important because it's like the clots data set. So that we looked at intermittent versus continuous, and overall survival was not different, but the intermittent had more prostate cancer deaths, and the continuous had more cardiovascular deaths. So that's going to be interesting in a few years in etiology.
那实际上有100个人或者是480个人，那这个基本上现在half of the patient that
Yeah, almost half.
Yeah.
More than half.
More than 8,
18.
you just counted them up.
18 out of
So it means that if you give the patient, you give the non-metastatic patient earlier with enzyme compared to late enzyme, they are going to die on other disease instead of dying on prostate cancer.
No. Because
We have to wait and see. That's what Lori Klotz would say.
Cardiovascular death in patients on placebo may be the same as men on apalutamide because for men,
The time.
yes, because of the time. 从14.7个月以后的 cardiovascular death 没有写在这里，只有刚才写这个4个人的死亡。
The interesting part though is that
progression 以后就没有再去计算它是
就没有出现花的是第二，
有 follow. So all deaths are counted in the overall survival analysis, but not MFS. Okay, we have to move on because of the time. Okay, are we going to see a shift in real world practice? We have talked a bit about this Lenya, you have more comments?
So, I am prescribing it and using it and getting not pushback from the insurance agencies because it is an approved agent. The physicians are not yet familiar with the agent and they're not familiar with using drugs in this domain. So it's not a matter of apalutamide or enzalutamide. He's actually being convinced that there is merit. And the conviction of merit comes from things like quality of life, I think, at the end of the day. So we need to look at both papers, need a lot of detail, there's going to be another paper, and decide what is best for our patients. But there will be these patients who you start on, and they will come in the door, any drug, and will tell you it's too difficult for you to sustain, and you will stop, or you will go into an intermittent regimen. As an example, I have Oxford, it's a very obese patient of mine, typical southerner, who came with a non-metastatic PSA CRPC 2 years ago with a PSA of 50 or 60, but nothing on conventional imaging. But I was convinced. So I put him on enzalutamide and his PSA went to 0, but he was wiped out. I stopped. He remained 1 year without recurrence. He has just recurred and I have put him on apalutamide given the prior. Now I have a mutation. So I'll see how he sustains. He will be my first comparison on the same person.
I think this issue is really important. These two clinical trials show that because usually is that including the FDA and the pharmaceutical company, they probably it's very hard to design the clinical trial targeted on metastasis because this pharmaceutical company usually don't because even the metastasis is the major reason cause the cancer-related deaths. But pharmaceutical company probably is not very interested about targeting to stop or delay the metastasis because usually this kind of clinical trial is really hard to design. So these two trials needed to recruit a lot of patients here. So usually it's kind of tough trial, the designs. But I believe these two trials it will call out a lot of attention because that we will see that dealing with the cancer probably is like they use the drug treatments, probably move on more and more advanced to the early stage. So these two trials probably use not only for prostate cancer, but also for other types of cancer to show targeting to the metastasis in the early stage, and we do the risk stratifications and to prevent the metastasis, probably not only for to delay the symptoms and keep the quality of life in the cancer patient, but also maybe have a benefit on the overall survival.
Yeah, you're actually starting to think like we may end up having adjuvant treatments.
Yeah. Yes, not only adjuvant, but also maybe
Move on to neoadjuvant. This kind of clinical trial will be designed probably more in the clinical
Now
practice.
it's feasible.
okay.
台大 A 院泌尿部，台湾风尘泌尿协会，万幸1。